White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre laid out Fox News' Peter Doocy for asking a ridiculous question about Kamala Harris being the border czar.
The first one says Vice President Harris was never appointed border czar. There's never been such a position. It doesn't exist. Why are Democrats so sensitive about the vice president and the border?
Why are Republicans so sensitive about actually not owning up to them getting in the way of a border deal? Why? Why won't they own up to that? Why won't they own up to the last president told them not to move forward? It was a bipartisan deal on just right there, available to them, and they voted twice against it.
Do you think that the border would be less of a talking point now if there was less migration to the border, say if somebody had addressed root causes of migration sooner?
Wait, hold on a second. Did you not hear the beginning of I know there were a lot of toppers, but one of the toppers, I talked about what we're seeing at the border. It's down by 55%, not because of Republicans in Congress and what they did. It's because of what this president and this vice president did. He moved forward and took actions to deal with what's going on at the border. Republicans continue to block getting resources to the Border Patrol agents. They continue to block actually dealing with an immigration system. So yes, we are going to debunk the false characterization of the vice president. She was not a border czar, and it's not just us. Independent fact checkers have said the same thing, that did not exist, and that is not true.
Republicans are really desperately trying to tie Kamala Harris to the border because they think that's Donald Trump's strength, because he's talking to the delusional morons who are left over from the Republican Party, these mega morons who have no idea about the border. I live 20 minutes from the border, from the most trafficked border crossing in the world, the Otay Mesa border crossing, where it takes residents of Mexico hours to cross over, and they do it every day to help those mega cult members get their fruits and vegetables and everything that we produce here in California. They're helping them, and yet it's really easy for Donald Trump to get these white people all riled up about Mexicans coming across the border because they have no idea what they're talking about. Watch the latest GOP attack on Kamala Harris, and I want you to note how many times they actually let Kamala answer questions before they edit the clip.
And the Biden administration did task Vice President Kamala Harris with the issue of migrant crossings, naming her the so-called border czar.
He did not lay out a concrete plan with dealing with the surge of migrants, especially at the border, and that's your task. That's a job that he has handed you.
Has increased the challenges that we're seeing at our southwest border. No one knows this better than the vice president.
More than 2 years ago, the president put Vice President Kamala Harris in playing a critical role in terms of trying to stop the flow of migrants across the border.
He's leading the effort.
Vice President can do it at the border tomorrow.
Doing a great job so far.
Do you think Vice President Harris is in the best position to exert her presence there to fix it?
Yeah.
Most Americans say that they don't think you're doing a good job on the border.
So when the border crossings went down earlier in the summer, the administration said it was due to your policies working. Now they're going back up as they did in the month of August. Does that show the strategy is no longer working?
Absolutely not.
Now, not only is this pretty much a racist attack on Kamala Harris, trying to tie her to the border so that these white mega morons will think lesser of her, it's also just completely made up. This next clip is Jim McGovern, a Democratic congressman, laying out why Republicans are in this delusional haze trying to paint Kamala as the border czar.
You can't make this stuff up, Mr. Speaker. So first of all, let me set the record straight. The original version of this resolution said, quote, President Biden asked Vice President Kamala Harris to serve as the administration's border czar, end quote, which he did not do. I don't know, someone made it up, I think, I don't know. And after my colleagues and I pointed out that fact, the gentleman from Pennsylvania and their side of the aisle, of the, their side of the Republican side of the committee scrambled to try to find a shred of proof that, in fact, Biden actually appointed her as a border czar. And they couldn't find anything. So they made a frantic last-minute change to now say that Vice President Harris, quote, came to be known colloquially as the Biden administration's border czar, end quote. I mean, we caught you, but I mean, come on. This would be comical if it weren't such a monumental waste of time and taxpayer dollars, and all for a resolution that does absolutely nothing. The gentleman from Pennsylvania went on a big rant, throwing out all kinds of numbers and identifying all kinds of problems that we're faced with. And I'm trying to figure out where in this four-page bill there is anything, in this four-page resolution, where there is anything that would do anything to solve any of the issues that he raised. There's nothing. This is a non-binding resolution. This will never become law. This doesn't even go to the Senate. I mean, this is like voting on a press release. I mean, what a colossal waste of time. My Republican friends love to complain, but they don't want to do anything to fix anything. And this is the latest example. What a waste of time for this institution to have to concern itself with a glorified press release. Mr. Speaker, I'm going to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record an article from Scripps News entitled, quote, "No, Vice President Kamala Harris was never named border czar." I request unanimous consent to insert into the record a Time magazine article entitled, "Kamala Harris was never Biden's border czar. Here's what she really did." Mr. Speaker, I'm going to also ask unanimous consent to insert in the record a July 17, 2024 article from the New York Times entitled, "Why Republicans Keep Calling Kamala Harris the Border Czar." Mr. Speaker,
without objection.
Contrary to what the gentleman keeps saying, the idea that Kamala Harris is the border czar was invented by right-wing media. And let me read to you from the article I just inserted. I quote here. Ms. Harris was not, in fact, appointed border czar, nor was she tasked with addressing the border problems plaguing the border itself. It goes on to say, and I quote, "Rather, she was deputized by President Biden with the diplomatic mission of solving the, quote, root causes of migration from countries like Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras, tackling issues that spur people to flee in the first place, like drug violence and the lack of economic opportunity." Mr. Speaker, in fact, my Republican colleagues had to change their resolution, as I mentioned, at the last minute in the Rules Committee last night because we caught them. We caught them. Because they actually acknowledged by changing their resolution that President Biden never, in fact, named President Harris the border czar. And they changed their resolution to acknowledge that fact that border czar is a term that basically they made up. So, Mr. Speaker, so why are we here? Why are we doing this? We're doing this because they're afraid of the vice president. She's drawing huge crowds. There's incredible excitement, and they're in a panic. They don't know what to do. God forbid they bring any legislation to the floor to actually help the American people or help solve any crisis that we're faced with. Instead, a glorified press release comes to the floor so that they can, rant and rave and point fingers and yell and scream and get everybody all, up in arms. Bottom line is, this is like one of the biggest wastes of time that I can recall ever coming to this floor. And we've done a lot of things here under their leadership that I think is a waste of time.
What this all is just another sign of how weak Donald Trump is, how weak the Republican Party is. Democrats and Republicans came forward with an immigration plan to which Donald Trump said, no, don't do it because it'll help Joe Biden in the election. And now that Kamala is the new candidate, she's the border czar. They have nothing. They're weak, they're desperate, and they're pathetic. Let me know what your reflections are about the clips that I played in the comments down below. Thanks for liking and sharing the video, and subscribe to Reflect if you haven't already. You'll also notice that I put some new merchandise below this video. Members are going to be randomly selected to win some of that merchandise every month, so be sure to sign up for a membership. That really helps me produce videos and keep all of us informed as to what's going on in the election in the future. Thanks again for watching. My name is Brendan Plank with Reflect, and I'll see you in the next video.